Hello, everybody, and welcome. I hope that everything is well for you and your families on this day. And this day being some of the good days that we are seeing right now in our country here in Canada. And for a lot of people around the world who are getting encouragement from what's happening in Canada nowadays. Because in the last little while, we've been having a thing called the Freedom Convoy that has literally rolled out to Ottawa from all across the country and cross border from the United States. And I'm sure other people that have come from other countries who have come down for the visit and have happened to find themselves in Ottawa right now protesting these mandates, and as well as the government that Canadians are right now suffering with under Justin Trudeau, and also a branch of what's been happening for many decades in Canada, how we've been living, the kind of system that we have that's just manipulating us, manipulating our resources, everything, just turning our country into something that is still safe. Yeah, you can come here, raise your family, but it's really hard to do it. Even if you have a good job, you are taxed incredibly hard, and as well as you're worked incredibly hard and you're given very little. In fact, people are paying for overinflated homes, overinflated products, when this country is so gigantic, it has so many resources. So this is more than just mandates. This is more than just not being happy with Justin Trudeau, but it's basically the whole political system. Or at least that's how many of us view it. But right now, the main thing that everybody knows it for is right now these mandates. It's way more than that. It's basically now years of oppression, years of losing our voice, years of watching Canada turn into basically like a communist haven of people who are radical movements, as well as our prime minister, who is a dictator. This guy is a tyrant, and he wants to position himself for what looks like to be that tyrant for a very long time, perhaps even have his kids rule us as little royals. No. This Fidel Castro's nephew over here, named Justin Trudeau, I don't know where this guy really comes from. All I know is about his dad and all the stuff that he said, to now what we got in Justin Trudeau. Justin Trudeau is clearly a person who's being manipulated by bigger powers than him, bigger powers than what Canada has. And they're trying to use people like this man, like this troll, to subject us here in Canada, further subject our resources, and just make up lies on how we should be protected like this, how we should prevent these things from being in our society, while they're bringing in agendas and what they're teaching our kids in school, these mandates and what they mean, and as well as just like what they've been pushing, the agendas they've been pushing for way too long now. It is finally crossed the line, and Canadians are very upset. And as I said, as well as Americans who have come from across the border, who are very disgruntled with their own government, and as well have taken a lot of courage from what Canadians have done. And most people think of Canadians as just passive people who just want to be nice to everybody. I guess in a sense we want to be nice. We are passive to a certain extent. But the thing is that we are people who are just trying to live our lives, trying not to break laws, trying to do the right thing. And with what's happening lately, what is the right thing? What we're being told by the mainstream media, what we're being told by our government is the right thing? Because in trusting in our government, trusting in the mainstream media, trusting in the system is what we got right now teaching our kids in school, indoctrinating them with the LGBT agenda. Now, I'm not against people and their sexual orientation, but the way that they're cramming it down our throats, indoctrinating our kids, forcing our families, even bullying our kids and bullying our families, calling them outsiders and different because we don't agree with something that the majority of the planet, about 95% of the planet, doesn't agree with. And that 5%, who is that 5%? Probably people pushing it as agendas, people who don't mean the best for us, people who hate elements of their society and are using this as a tool, as opposed to also a very small percentage of people who actually believe in these things, have actually been convinced by these things, and people as well that just have their natural preferences. See, it's a very complicated issue, but overall it's not very complicated to see that the majority of people don't support it, and it is just indoctrination. So those are just a few things, a few highlights of what is causing this tension between the government right now and its citizens. And clearly, many citizens around the world, right now in Australia, people don't have the luxury of the freedom convoy that we have here. Right now, people in Australia have also formed a freedom convoy, but the police out there are being really rough on the people. They're very authoritarian, and they're very used to doing it. They know that these people don't have as much resources as we have in Canada, as much support as they have. A lot of support, but just we are just a little bit more hardy in that, and we're able to fight a little bit harder. In fact, a lot more harder than what is clearly being seen in Australia right now, and other parts of the world that are also joining in this and have also been fighting these mandates and these kind of governments for quite a while now, and for good reason. It's not just what Justin Trudeau said. I don't think he understood the gravity of his words when he was calling all of us who disagree with this a fringe movement, calling us a minority, when in reality this is about 95% of the country, and the 5% is what I explained before, people who are not very clear, people who, like, I've seen some of the people who support this, people who are I'm not going to get too much into their personal occupations, but these are people who are able to influence, people in our society, work in positions that are very important, and they're very for this. Well, the majority of people, everybody that I know, almost 100% of the people that I know personally, are absolutely against this. Rather they got all the boosters, all the shots, it doesn't matter. Rather they follow the law, rather they pay their taxes, they do not agree with this. And the thing is that those are the people that are falling victim to it the most, because they have allowed fear to rule their lives. They have allowed fear to take away the voice that they want to have. And quite frankly, that in itself is also ruining for the people that are using their voice. That's why now we're being called a fringe minority, when that is absolutely not true. Maybe it's a bit of a minority in the sense of all the people that have actually put their jobs at risk, who have actually put their livelihoods at risk, who have drawn out their life savings so that they can go and fight for this. And I guarantee that if more people had time, you'd have half the country, if not over 70% of the country, out there right now against these mandates and basically what our governments have been for way too long now. And one of our biggest fears is that once Justin Trudeau goes, or this and that, another person's going to come in, whether it's Liberal, NDP, or whatever it is. We are afraid that this is just going to come back. Right now, the Conservative leader just got basically voted out, and they're saying that he was not hard enough on certain policies that seem to go with what the Liberals are doing. And it seems like this person was lynched because he's not standing up with the people that are ruining us right now hard enough. And that is a very sad thing to see, how the parliament, how our government is in the back pockets of tyranny elsewhere. How we are just basically an asset from people behind closed doors who we've possibly never seen in our lives, that are actually running the show. That are using our politicians and hand feeding our politicians with filth, like having our politicians, our leaders, eat out of these people's hands, go to their parties, have their orgies. I don't know what they do, but quite frankly, that's not what we do in society. We are trying our hardest to get by. Some of us have impairments where we don't have the same abilities as other people, and that's even made harder. And definitely COVID-19 or whatever is happening here, which we know has been affecting people, has been making people sick, but things have been extremely exaggerated, and that is very clear. And a lot of people have suffered as a result. And we know that pandemic or not, The political aspect of it is what's driving this, is what's driving the loss of freedom. This is being used as an excuse to say, hey, you know what, we're going to put in the world tyranny, we're going to do it now, the new world order, whatever you want to call it, we're going to do it now. And all these faces are starting to come out of the woodworks, all these trolls, all these people that have been plotting against our societies for a long time, as well as sponsoring and further helping groups like Antifa and BLM, which are saying that their causes are noble, but then they have piles of bricks piled up to hurt innocent people that want to defend stuff. You know, where we suspect that the RCMP, our police force, our very own intelligence, clearly is working against us, the people. Where basically what's happening is that they're creating dogs that just serve their masters, without realizing that these are human beings. These are human beings ruining fellow human beings. And it's understandable. They think that they're going to inherit a world that is so much better for them and their kids, where they're going to be able to rule in empty lands where who knows where we have went. You know, with the kind of things that they do to us in this country and in countries like this that speak English, this has a huge history. You'll see what happened to the African Americans. You'll see what happened to the natives. The guys, like, this history is pretty old. And the thing is that some of the biggest tyrants that we've ever faced, Hitler, Stalin, have actually copied a lot of the camps, a lot of the internment styles, a lot of the oppression of society from our systems, and people don't realize it, yet we've went and fought against them in the name of democracy and whatnot, while actually truly overlooking the horrors of communism. And maybe perhaps the United States government had interest in certain regions that were communist to create buffer zones and whatnot, still let that happen. Yes, we went after Hitler. Hitler was a very bad person, but yet we left communism almost untouched. And look what's happening right now with this Antifa. They're waving communist flags. And people have to understand that communism was there way before Hitler, during Hitler, way after Hitler. And it put people in concentration camps in the exact same manner. And even worse, where people never got justice. There was never soldiers that came out there and released those people from those camps. And today we tell the story, you know, and how not to be. No, that has been overlooked. And these groups are being sponsored by our governments. So that is a big indication that we are not safe. If like, people should not be waving Nazi flags. But people should definitely not be waving communist flags. A hammer with a sickle. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, maybe it means production and work and prosperity, but also those same tools used on millions upon millions. I'm talking about over like 100 million people that were possibly ran through concentration camp systems that never ended. They lived and bred and died in those things. They worked to death in those things. Folks, you have to understand that our nation, especially Canada, Canada, I meant like our nations, our English-speaking nations, but in particular Canada, but everywhere you go in the English world, whether it's Australia, whether it's the United States, whether it's Canada, whether it's England itself, it all has a history of oppressing minorities, oppressing its neighbors, and mainly natives. It's always a new thing coming and oppressing the older people. And yet today, we speak against imperialism, we speak against all this stuff, yet what is on our coin? The Queen's head. Alright, she's supposedly the head of state, at least an image. Supposedly, it is the Queen that owns all of our land to keep it civil, because she's the one who manages it, right? Or the agencies on her behalf. Guys, this all is an image, or at least it seems an image. But no, the results is that we are subjects. We are a form of commonwealth, and not something that we've chosen. Maybe something that our politicians, who get a lot of rewards, get the ability to travel the land and do what they like in the land, almost have real land ownership, while the rest of us have tenures. We're subjected to losing our properties. We're subjected to losing our livelihoods. We're subjected to losing everything, even our kids at certain points when these people want to. You know, we have to understand what Big Brother is, what the state is. And Canada is absolutely ruled by the state. And the reason why Canadians don't see the oppression is because of the low population we have. But again, why have Canadians always left the country to find art? Why have Canadians always left the country to find more of identity when they cannot find it here? They cannot have it here. Here it has to be really, really mundane, really just tasteless. And we can see why. It's because we are just maintaining this land for other powers. We are just basically logging the resources, taking all the resources out, and yet they talk about protecting the old growth forests, where in our lands, in private or freehold tenure lands, in the less than 10% of land ownership that Canadians actually have in this country, where the rest of it is owned by the crown. And there they destroy and take down all the forest, everything, and yet we can't, we cannot afford wood to build our own homes. How is that? How is it that they take all the wood from us, everything? They sell it wherever, you know what I'm saying? That's what it looks like is happening. They're selling it overseas. And then we go buy wood at the store and we can barely afford the wood. And then they're putting restrictions saying that you have to use that wood. And a lot of people are saying, well, a lot of this wood that we're buying from the stores is lesser quality than wood that I can take down on my lot and dry and process. Like the wood that I'm buying from the store seems like more poor quality, but yet we can only use that wood. When houses, if you look at places like New Westminster in British Columbia, and all over Canada, all over the United States, old houses that were made in very old ways by wood that didn't have the same treatment as we had today, are still standing, while today people, in the recent history, people are building houses and they're falling apart like 10 years later, 15 years later. Already there's mold, there's problems, the wood's not functioning properly. That is a pretty big sign that we're being just ripped off. We're being used. The countless people building these cities, building this system. And at the end, this is what they get. High taxes. Oh, you got a nice house? Well, guess what? You're paying so much tax that, yeah, we know that you've paid, not as much money as you're paying today, but we're going to tax you to death, and perhaps maybe you should sell your house, move somewhere else. If you have a big 5-6 bedroom house, maybe you should move in a 2-bedroom apartment or condo or something. And then with COVID, all the people that were put out on the street. Guys, we have a large country and this is how we live. This is what's happening with our resources. Like, why is this happening with our resources? Because they're being given away. They're being sold off. And our chiefs, our leaders, what they're doing is just basically collecting a good amount of money, and the people who are paying for this and taking it from us have a much better time paying tens of millions of dollars or a few billion dollars to these corrupt people, while our entire economy could be making trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars off it. I'm not a mathematician or an economist, but I believe that's how it is. That's what we could be doing with our resources. But no, that's why they want equality and all this stuff. And what is this equality? What is this equality? Telling kids that they shouldn't have to worry about their futures. They shouldn't have to worry about having families. And in fact, they should be more worried about sexual agendas and having fun and partying and trying to live an image that you see on TV, trying to see what Miley Cyrus is doing, what Lady Gaga said, what Jay-Z said, even what Biden said. It's like, guys, that's manipulation. That is us who have lost our livelihoods, our worlds. Even if we have a good job, what kind of life is that? Where all you can do is just, walk on the street, go to a bar, watch TV, smoke a cigarette or drink alcohol to pass your time, speak with friends about what you see on TV. But how much encouragement do we have of the land around us? How beautiful our land is? How do we actually respect First Nations culture if we don't know what our land is? If we don't know what the history is? All we see is how ashamed we should be. How ashamed we should be of having jobs. And then to see that our jobs are not giving us enough. They're giving us, enough, but not exactly what we have actually earned. And imagine the people who are disabled. Imagine the people who have a tough time, impairments, and are forced to live like in apartments, or parents that have worked all their lives to just end up in some condo, an overpriced condo, paying strata. A roof gets broken on this side of the building. Now everybody's paying like 10 grand after they pay strata. That is being sued. That is being charged. That is being taxed more and more and more and more and more. Paying rent when you've already paid for your home. The way we have our taxes is quite frankly illegal in some sectors. Or it should be illegal. Or I believe that the Constitution or there is something that's not legal about it. And yet we are forced to do it. A war happens or something, that tax stays. This was raised for the Germans, to fight the Germans, but yet here we are still being taxed by those things. And what are those taxes doing? Just crippling us, keeping us from being able to enjoy what we make. And also just making us slave to money, where we can only have enjoyment when we make. And if you can't afford it, if you lose your job or if something happens, or if you're really old and you can't pay your property tax, you lose. Also, kids who can't inherit their parents' home because of certain taxes that are there. They have to sell them. That is unbelievable in a country like this. That is fraud 100% through and through. That's what a lot of us are fighting for, is for us to actually have a country for the first time ever. A proper one. And the thing is that also, we shouldn't be having land tenures anymore. We should have property ownership. Actual ownership of our properties, of our lands, where we have way more say in what we do, where land acquisitions and stuff like that are frankly illegal in a country like this. You shouldn't be acquiring land in the name of community improvement. For the name of other people to have successes, you're going to be crippled, your family's going to be crippled, your whole block's going to be crippled, and if they can't do that, what's going to happen? You magically got drug dealers moving into your town, prostituting the little girls. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's deep, guys. This is deep. This is deep. Our organized crime works obviously against us. It works with the government. This is deep. This is deep. Where the organized crime is like an element of the government. Where our intelligence that's supposed to be working with us, our RCMP that's supposed to be a federal policing that's supposed to be good, is working against us, is helping their masters oppress us. So that they can have special rights. Basically, we are being run by cults, with their own religions, with their own backgrounds. We got things like the Scottish Rite. Every time a police officer dies, the bagpipes. It's like, what culture is this? Who are these people that are getting these special treatments? Who are these people that are able to come out of the woodworks and say that we have to buy back land from private owners and take it away from them so that we can give it back to the crown? Who are these people? Who are these people that get to enjoy those lands while they're saying that we should lose our rights? We should be further put into cities. In a country like this, where the majority of people should know what a homestead is, and they do not. All they know is what a condo is. A condo and what's on TV. We can't live like that. We don't want to live like that. I don't want to live like that. A lot of my family doesn't want to live like that. And the family that wants to live down here, it's because they're used to it. But at the same time, know something's wrong. That's why we escape to go to the lakes. That's why we go try to enjoy the resource that we have. It's not a resource that we have. It's a resource that's flaunted in our face while it's still being exploited and cut down. And then they have the balls to say that we're going to make national parks on top of people's houses. When our whole country is basically a national park. Not a national park. It's just a resource for people that have us in their back pocket. That's what's happening in Canada. That's the truth. I don't want to be Commonwealth. I didn't vote for that. Okay? I don't want to have the head of state some lady out in England. I don't want to see that on our coins. We don't need to see that on our coins. We don't need to see that. We don't need that being our image. We don't need to swear to that. When people go to courts, they don't need to see the royal family from England's faces in pictures when we go to courts. We don't need it to be called the crown when we're being persecuted. Who are you, royalty, persecuting me because I made a mistake in a country that is being ever so hard to live in? People losing their identities, everything. And yes, the countless victims that have lost their lives to drugs and those industries. They're industries. They're not just illegal elements. They're industries that seem to be very well allowed, to the point where now we're getting movements saying that we got to legalize things like heroin. So that when the day that you go try to help your kid, he says, Dad, this is my choice. I want to be this. I want to put this in my body. And you know what? I'm going to call the cops if you try to stop me. Do you guys understand? For a lot of us that immigrate to this country, I'm an immigrant, but I grew up here. My family immigrated here and grew up here and trusted the system. And this is what we got to deal with. This is what we got to see. We can get people for decades saying, oh, look at those third world countries. Look at those people coming from Mexico. And look at all those people and all their problems in other countries. The ignorance that I have heard. And then to see this here. And to think that I make this video and it's censored. It's censored. Why? Because it doesn't have some sort of political message coming from the government. Because it can't be exploited by the government. Why? Because it shows people and it encourages people to see what's actually happening. To question what's around them. The government hates people like me. They hate people like you out there in the Freedom Convoy, speaking out for themselves. They like it when you put your head down and you don't question. They like that the most. And that's what's been destroying Canada, to the point where countless people have to leave to go act, to go do something with their lives, to be artistic, to find culture. My culture is not some Canadian Mountie wearing some Mountie hat and a red coat, reminding us of the imperialism that we still have on our coin. The royal mounted Canadian what? Seeing those images, a beaver that we'll never be able to see, a moose that we'll never be able to see, only on the Discovery Channel, because the only thing that we can see is going to some mall, and we can't even enter the mall because there's mandates, or at least, the ones who did are able to proudly go into restaurants while people walk by saddened with what's happening with their nation, with their futures, their kids' futures. People who are walking by and have lost their kids. I'm one of those who have lost my child physically. Have actually lost my child physically in life. Has passed away to the ignorance of what's in this country right now. Some of us have actually lost children's. Some of us have actually lost parents. Are losing parents right now. And how many people have not lost their lives to drugs, to substance abuse? Because that's all they got in a country like this. And this is how we're forced to live. This is who we're forced to pay tax to. And be ran by. And not have the ability to do anything else with our lives besides that. It's disrespectful and it's killing us. This is definitely a freedom convoy that's happening. Not just about mandates. I want people to be safe. I want people to take all the precautions and be safe, especially if there's a damn pandemic. But there's a worse pandemic happening, and that is our government. That's what we've been seeing for so long. And maybe there's some people that say, hey, I've had a good business here and this and that. Well, you should see the majority of Canadians and what they have to do. Yet, I hear stories of the American dream and how people in the United States had all this, had all that, had all this. The ability to do this. It's not about who has what and who has what. It's about what we're doing right now and where we are and what our situation is. I feel bad for people in other countries that don't have enough. People in Africa that starve. What about us? How we're living right now. We're living in a country that if we don't eat enough, we starve. The cold will kill us quicker than anything in the desert will. And yet we're borderline there. Where there's commercials proudly, I wouldn't say proudly, but it seems like they're proud throughout my growing up, saying either Canadians have shelter or food, which one? And at that time I'm like, you know what, we don't even pay that much for rent. No, yeah, now we see why those commercials are there, showing us the future of what we're coming into. And the restrictions where you can't do this, you can't harness power like this, oh, you can't do this, you can't, no. We're being trolled and controlled. And I've met some of the people that have those personalities that are proud of this, that like it. They're like, oh, No. No. That's enough. That's what's happening. And it's enough. That's why the majority of us are standing. This is not just a freedom convoy against mandates. This is turning back years of oppression. Passive people. Is that what they say on all over, like passive people? I've seen those commercials where it's like, who's gonna pay? Who's gonna pay first? No, we don't have to pay. And then what we're eating, the food that's giving us cancer, genetically modified food, what they're teaching our kids, it's all cancer. And yet we're called hateful whenever we question it. We're called misogynist, this white supremacist. Well, I look white to you, right? I look white to you. I'm like a Mexican, man. I come from a country where we speak Spanish. My mom's dark. Okay? How racist I am. My dad who married my dark mom, how racist was he? My uncles who all married dark women, how racist they are, huh? And same thing with the dark people having to marry the white people. Why do we even have to look at it like that? Why do we even have to feel like that? We shouldn't be feeling like that. That prime minister's a bully. And he doesn't understand the gravity of his words when he was spouting all that BS. And to think that this video is going to get censored. Anybody who watches this will say, hey, that guy's making sense. Censored. 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 How many people have lost livelihoods and even YouTube channels speaking for their rights? And to now these people admitting that a lot of what these people were saying was right and being called conspiracy theorists, being treated like that in society, also being discriminated, having new movements discriminating our faith, discriminating our good cultures. Why? Because they know that those cultures have strength. They know that our faith has strength. Our belief in God, Jesus Christ, has strength. So they try to break that out of Canada. They try to divide everybody, make everybody hateful towards each other. Condemning Justin Trudeau, condemning what they did to Terry Fox. What did they do to Terry Fox? Put a Canadian flag on the guy? Put a Canada's hockey team on his head? And a Canadian flag around his chest? Maybe it was upside down. What they did is that they honored Terry Fox. Yet, what are these Antifas and these things that are being sponsored by our government? Or what has our government in their back pocket? Toppling statues, burning down our churches, and yet they want Parliament to be safe? Will they burn down our churches? Our havens without protection? I've seen people troll my faith. Oh, your belief in Christ there. Yeah, People with tattoos of people of Day on the Dead on their bodies insulting us. It's like who are you? Why would you insult our faith? And yet our leaders here saying that they support the Muslim communities and all the Sikhs and people who want to come of other cultures, but not us, right? Because they don't want us having any sort of say. They don't want us showing those other cultures that, hey, the Canada that you're coming to is being removed. You're coming to a Canada that's very distorted, more distorted than ever before. And that's what they're doing. I can see that it's all social engineering. It's to divide us, to make us fight each culture against each culture. While these people talk about population control. Population control for what? So you and your kids can run around and do what you like? You can inherit? Well, all the people who are honest and hardworking do what? Go die? That got a little bit of emotional there at the end. But that's our right. And they say that we don't have a right to, we have a right to free speech, but it's a distorted free speech. Where we ourselves are censoring and being like, am I being offensive? No. That's it. Mandate freedom. That's a good one. You know what? The best way we can all fight this. All of you who want to have a voice, if you can't go to Ottawa, make a sign. Okay? Grab a nice white blanket and say, hey, mandate freedom. Put what you like. You know, be respectful too. Don't be aggressive. Don't be a person causing violence or problems. No, and we're not. The people who are protesting this are not. They said that there's Nazi flags and all this stuff. The only people who are known to do stuff like that, to break up protesters like that, are the RCMP. They'll dress up undercover, and what they'll do is that they'll go, you know, pretend to punch cops and all this stuff. And then what happens is that their boys will drag that agent back into the crowd, and then they'll begin to proceed to pepper spray and do what they want to break up the crowd and call it Nazi, call it hateful, call it this. The only people that are known to do that is the very dogs that serve these masters. Why? Because they might be getting some special treatment. They might be getting some special tax break. Hey, they might get to enjoy some real land ownership on this crown land. You know, they're like little knights, you know? They got the little castles. And as long as they fight for the king, you know what I'm saying? That they're able to have a little bit more freedom than the rest of us peasants. The best thing anybody can do right now is make a sign. Put it in the back of your car, wherever you are. Freedom, mandate freedom. Free our country. Out with that Justin Trudeau. Thank you. And I'm not the one who made up this movement. You see me in front of the camera, what are you going to do? Did you make this movement? No. This has been happening for a long time. People have had enough. And they're speaking out. And I am one of them. You know, we've suffered with enough. People that we know, extended families, have suffered with enough of this. And the problems that we've had, the tensions that people have had as a result. I hope that anyone can forgive me for any issues that I have ever caused anybody in my life. Or any tension that I have caused in my life. But quite frankly, right now is the time to get together. Cops, all of you people, get together. Someone views this and says, I don't know. Well, get together. That's it. At least make a sign. Be vocal. Call your friends and families and say, hey, listen, you know, we should be we should be backing this up. And also for that GoFundMe, if GoFundMe is taking all the monies, perhaps stop donating to GoFundMe. Find a different way. Can you believe that? Almost 10 million, who knows how much now, has been raised. And GoFundMe is like sitting there like, you know, I'm just going to take it and release like $1 million. But yet they can fund Antifa, huh? They can fund BLM to go actually tear down our statues, burn down our churches, terrorize our kids, assault our kids, possibly committing murder on our people. While they're flaunting the signs of communist fascism. The only people I've ever met that support those kind of stuff, that speak like that and like that kind of stuff, are people who are trolls to our society, people who I have found to be not good. Not good people personally. People who make awful posts on their Facebook. People who don't treat their kids very well. Don't care where their kids end up. Or some of them who do care where their kids end up because they're so poshy like that. They feel like they're going to have a stake in controlling the country too. is what it seems like. No. I am not a subject. My kids are not subjects, and my family's not a subject. No one in my family is a subject. No one in my extended families are subjects, even if they feel like it. But no, if you're serving this willingly, then you are a subject. But I know the majority of people do not. They're just trying to do the right thing, and this is not the right thing. I'm sorry, guys, if I was a little bit yelling in this video, but that's my right. I see all these anti-Christian, all these anti-normality channels preaching like there's some sort of Adolf Hitler about how our religion should go down, how culture should go down, how this fake image of equality should take away people's ability to have voices, how our land should be sold back to the government or should be taken. You know, how community planning should take away all remnants of proper private property to the point where it's not even a freehold. What a joke. Not even a freehold. It's a leasehold. It's a strata. That's unbelievable. Where young couples, young people go to try to buy a home, or they saved a lot of money and they can't even get near it. You go buy an empty piece of land and now all these regulations and restrictions where it costs you about like $200,000 to build a home for the government. That's what you're doing. You're building homes for them. And then later on they say, oh, well, you know what? We want to build condos here and this house is damned and this house is no good. Or here's a flood zone. Where are we being pushed in Canada to live? On the outskirts of flood zones. Marshes. Well, the good land is being exploited, logged, and basically destroyed. And we're being told that we're the one doing this. That's not true. We're not the ones doing that. We're just the ones trying to find a better way. Oh no, the environment's being destroyed. We got to find a better way. Oh, the carbon tax. Okay, we're paying the carbon tax. Oh, equality. We got to do equality. Oh, diversity. We got to do diversity. Oh, we got to indoctrinate our kids. What? We got to what with our kids? Okay, I guess it's in the name of love. No! It's in the name of fraud and losing our futures. Straight up. There's no other way of looking at it. Especially with the kind of person this Justin Trudeau has been. We know something's wrong with that parliament. All of it. The whole system in Canada. Whether it's Conservative NDP or not. The only person that was actually showing some balls out there, Pierre Poilievre. Sorry if I didn't say his name right. He's the only one actually giving justice to Canadians. As well as people on the Conservative side. And then boom, they took out the Conservative leader because he wasn't hard enough on assault weapons and this and that and mandates. And it's like, are you kidding me? We don't have a proper political system. We need a proper political system. We need proper leaders. And we need our Constitution to be respected, our Charter rights to be respected, and as well upgraded. Not just upgraded to put loopholes, bureaucratic loopholes, but upgraded to absolutely uphold these mandates of freedom. That is our Constitution. That mandate freedom, supposedly. We got to restructurize this land tenure system. We got to see what's the crown, what's owning our land. Why do we have the Queen's head on our coins? Why do we got this thing called the Scottish Rite? Like what is this? Like they can play bagpipes and do their kilt ceremonies, but it's like you can openly say that, hey, you know, Christianity shouldn't be here and this and this and this and this and that. Hey, you know, well, you have your little police state. That's what I mean. We're being ran by cults, by what looks like remnants of English monarchy. No. I feel bad also for Australia right now. Wow, what happened? Wow, I'll never ever believe in the Australian image of that sort where they say this. No, I believe in those people. I know that those people are oppressed, and the history of that has been oppressed. But right now, like, Australia is not a good place. Not a good government, not a good system, who want us out, want us to go away so that they can do what? Exploit our resources how they want further. They can take the real estate that they got us living in on the scraps of the land. I hope that made sense to you guys. It definitely makes sense. Everybody's thinking about it. But now I hope people can voice themselves out even more. You know, these things should be taken to all city halls, everywhere. If you can't travel out there, people should be protesting everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, let people's communities be in peace. You know what I'm saying? Let people drive and stuff like that. But we got to do something. We got to start voicing ourselves everywhere. And we got to let this law enforcement that we have in our country know that as well. You have to stand with us. Or else you can't say serve and protect. Serve and protect who? The Queen? The Crown? I don't serve a crown. I serve my children. I serve my family. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was my video. Please share. They're going to censor the crap out of this. They always do. They censor everybody who has courage. They always do that. That's enough. Thank you for watching. All of you, God bless you. For real, God bless you. I have the right to say God bless you. Sick of being censored for just saying God bless you alone. That's enough. They're saying that we can come to this country so that we won't have religious persecution. We're getting our religion persecuted. Our faith in Christ is getting persecuted here. We're getting persecuted as people. We're being discriminated as people. What is the Charter of Rights saying we have? We're getting all that violated. And the people who are getting that violated the most is our kids at school. Being taught not to even ask questions about what's going on. Enough is enough. And I've seen some of those truckers read out some of the letters that they've gotten from people and children around the country, saying, some of those letters saying, you know, like a child saying, I'm 11, I don't know what's going on, but I know that it's bad. Something bad is happening. And we stand with you. And these truckers reading this in tears. And what's going to happen? What helicopters are going to come and start shooting people from the sky or something? Huh? Dropping gas bombs on the people so that they're clearing out? Huh? Piping people over the head with batons? Huh? Maybe getting Antifa to run in there and help the police by throwing bricks at these people's faces? For standing up for you? Thank you, Freedom Convoy. Everything the mainstream media is saying is a bunch of lies. And they censor us from not being able to say anything else. Absolutely not. No more. Thank you very much. All of you have a nice one. Again, God bless you. May God keep you. Stand together. All the power to that Freedom Convoy. And all of us who are ready to use their voice. How come you don't say that, Prime Minister? You're not even a Prime Minister. You're a clown that should be in jail.